The latest in Savannah Guthrie, you all know that her 84-year-old mother, I'll say, was allegedly abducted. I don't think there's any discussion, converse theories that she wasn't abducted. Her 84-year-old mother was abducted, missing from her home. There was a trail of blood allegedly dripping, or apparently dripping, from the house. And she's been missing now since last Saturday, last Sunday. And just, the story here is that Savannah Guthrie is a left-wing journalist. And I say that only because, Trump has come out and said full disposal of the DOJ, FBI to help find her mother. It's a race against time. They're in Arizona, border town. Question as to who could have possibly abducted the mother. People are putting out theories, asking questions. Let's just, start off with getting the baseline good here. FBI offers $50,000 reward for information on Savannah Guthrie's mother as search enters sixth day. She was abducted between Saturday night and Sunday. And I'm going to not connect two dots, just going to put the two dots out there. This was a day and a half after the latest and potentially last disclosure in the Epstein files. And it's just probably a coincidence, maybe not, who knows. But those two dots are dots. They exist. You can connect them or not, or you can think that anybody who noticed those two dots is crazy. But there is a Guthrie-Epstein connection, not just tangentially with her husband, who had some consultancy firm. Savannah Guthrie interviewed the victims back in 2019. So we'll get there in a second. So there's a reward out. Police have not identified a suspect in Nancy Guthrie's appearance. FBI is offering $50,000 for information on 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today's Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. Last seen at her home, Tucson, Arizona. Now, if anybody watched Viva and Lord Buckley go to the movies yesterday, where we reviewed Casablanca, we briefly talked about this. And, Buckley, Mark Robert, his initial reaction, it's a border town. This looks like it could be something of a cartel kidnapping to try to get crypto ransom or other ransom to finance illicit activities, and entirely reasonable that a woman was kidnapped, brought over the border into Mexico, being held for ransom. So Tucson, Arizona is not an irrelevant fact to consider here. Investigators believe she was abducted from her home. Authorities found traces of Nancy's blood on the porch of her home in Pima County Sheriff's Chris Nanos told reporters Thursday. He also said investigators believe Nancy is still out there. She's obviously still out there because they haven't found her yet. Phoenix special agent in charge, Heath Janke, told reporters his agents are investigating a ransom letter that listed a 5 p.m. Thursday deadline, which has since passed. The note also listed a second deadline for next Monday. He said, I don't believe they've mentioned the details of these deadlines, but apparently the Monday deadline is more important than the Thursday deadline. Savannah's brother, Cameron Guthrie, shared a video on Instagram Thursday evening pleading for their mother's release. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you, he said. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out. We may need to communicate with you so we can move forward. Investigators have yet to identify any potential suspects as the search for Nancy enters its sixth day. Now, a lot of questions in that. How are there no security cameras? Were they disabled? I do think I recall reading somewhere that the cameras weren't working. They got one ransom note, but the news that broke yesterday as I was live is that there was allegedly an imposter ransom note. And the amazing thing is this: predators exist in the wild and in humankind. And the second there's opportunity, you're going to get predators jumping in on the opportunity. You're going to get fraudsters. You're going to get scamsters. And allegedly, one of the two ransom notes that's since emerged, one was sent to TMZ, the other one was sent somewhere else, has been an imposter. And I believe someone's been arrested for it. Individual arrested for imposter ransom demand relating to Savannah Guthrie's mom, Nancy. This is from People Magazine. When was this? Yeah, yesterday in the afternoon, 3:21 p.m., right when I was live. Need to know, an arrest has been made in connection with a fake ransom note regarding Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Samantha Guthrie's 84-year-old mom was abducted. Okay, we got that. An arrest has been made related to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, yada, yada, yada. Authorities said that an arrest was related to a false ransom note pertaining to Nancy's whereabouts. Thursday, February 5th, the Pima County Sheriff's Department held a press conference to relay the latest information about the case 5 days after the mother of three vanished from her home in Arizona. FBI agent Heath Janke shared that while the local authorities and the FBI are looking into the ransom notes related to Nancy's disappearances, They have arrested one individual who is accused of crafting a fake ransom note. The arrest took place February 5. We made an arrest related to an imposter ransom demand, and a complaint will be presented to a magistrate judge later. You got to imagine. Again, you can be a criminal, you can be dumb. This is one hell of a dumb criminal. Janke urged members of the public to avoid taking advantage of the situation, noting they will all be prosecuted, as they should. My next message is to those who are imposters trying to take advantage, yada, yada, yada. We will investigate and ensure you are held accountable for your actions. Ransom note currently being investigated by authorities is the one that was sent to members of the media earlier this week. The false ransom note had not been seen by the media, according to the FBI. So there are two that have been seen, one that has been deemed to not been seen, but deemed to be fake and led to an arrest. It was someone trying to profit from the situation, a total imposter. Criminal complaint obtained by People. It named Derek Kalela as the defendant, citing two violations. One violation to the intent to, quote, transmit a demand for ransom, and the second was for using a telecommunication device without disclosing his identity and with intent to abuse, threaten, harass any specific person. And let's see here. Also shared during the press conference, there has been no contact by potential abductors in the Guthrie case since the ransom note went to the media. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos said there are still currently no suspects. All right, so that's the latest there. Let's take a brief pause from this video for a word from our sponsor, Rumble Wallet. It's right there. Folks, they can freeze your accounts, shut off your cards, lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks don't protect you, they control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you own direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't IOU. It is real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That is real power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer and outside the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. The wallet is yours forever. Go to wallet.rumble.com. The link is in the description. Rumble Revolution is on. Be a part of it. And now back to the vlog, which I hope you are finding wickedly insightful. Booyah. One ransom note, which was not seen by the public, deemed to be fake, arrest made. Still missing, and people are starting to ask questions. There was, again, and this goes the same for Erica Kirk. It goes for the same for everybody else who's going through some form of trauma, and everyone out there saying, well, their reaction is not what I think it should be, and therefore I'm going to ask questions which are actually not questions being asked, but accusations being made. This is not so much of an accusation. This is someone observing something which I wouldn't have noticed myself. This is why the aggregate knowledge of the internet is an amazing thing. It's what happens when you democratize access to information. It's crowdsourcing information. It's crowdsourcing knowledge. Someone out there has seen the movie. Someone out there makes a connection, and it might be a coincidence. But then there are some coincidences that are going to be Magnolia level, Greenberry Hill level. Blackjack dealer picking up the guy who lost the hand and dumping him on a forest fire level coincidences. If you haven't seen Magnolia, do not be deterred by the fact that P.T. Anderson just made an abomination of a movie called One Battle After Another. Magnolia is a work of art. This is a coincidence that somebody noticed, and you can draw whatever inferences from it that you want. What you can't do is deny that it's the case. Listen to this.
Okay, if you thought the Savannah Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie case was weird to begin with, wait till you hear this. And I'm not talking about her husband potentially or being in the Epstein files. This is something totally different. This is about the press conference yesterday. Did you guys see the press conference that was held where Savannah was sitting there, I think it was with her siblings, and reading a letter to, I guess it was the people that sent the ransom note?
Pause it there. We played a bit of that. I'm not going to play it again. It's Savannah, her sister, and her brother. And then some people were asking questions saying that the sister looked like she was smiling before the video started, and then she quickly turned into a frown, which is an indication that somehow the sister's in on it. They did the same thing with the parents at Sandy Hook. They did the same thing. during any crime. Oh, if they ever get a video of Erica Kirk smiling again, well, it means she was somehow in on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So there have been people making that observation. Other people saying the brother in the back looks sus, whatever. He didn't. I'm not getting into any of that. This is actually kind of interesting, and you might want to ponder what it could possibly mean.
That's what I'm talking about. And before anybody gets bent out of shape, I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just merely pointing something out, okay? And this comes from a friend who has a photographic memory and was watching this press conference yesterday and literally got chills when Savannah said this line, because when she heard it, she was like, oh my gosh, that exact line was said in a movie and in the same tone and everything. So,
and not just any movie, for those who are listening in podcast format, from The Silence of the Lambs.
So I went and I found the movie clip, and I have the clip of the press conference yesterday. I'm going to show it to you in just a second. And what I found odd, other than that, is after the line is said, the way that Savannah just pauses and kind of looks at the camera. So here, take a look at the video.
She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
Catherine is very gentle and kind. Talk to her and you'll see.
That's freaky one way or the other. And you'll let me know in the chat what you think. It's beyond freaky.
Talk to her and you'll see.
Now, I didn't slow it down. That was slowed down in the original video. That's a very unique phrase, and it's a very unique turn of phrase. Now, we don't know who drafted the note that Savannah's reading, and some people are hypothesizing it was a note from the abductors that she was, designed to read. Some people say she might have written it herself. Others suggest maybe someone else wrote it, and I don't know. That is kind of bizarre. And it's not the type of phraseology that can really occur by accident. It's even curious why that would be something that you would say under the circumstances. And there's the link for it so that you can all have it. So that's one part of this. People are wondering who's behind this abduction. People are hypothesizing whether or not it's going to end well. I don't think anybody's denying that it's happening, and we'll see. That Lord of the Rings, that Silence of the Lambs reference is spooky. People have picked up on it already. Another thing, which is something that I initially thought, is I was looking through the Epstein files, putting in keywords and searching. And one thing it refreshed my memory is that back in the day, 2019, Savannah Guthrie interviewed a number of the victims. This is a document that I found in the Epstein files, the most recent disclosure, and it's communications with the FBI from 2019. Everything, redacted and whatever. But in it says, below is a list of those we know that were interviewed for Dateline. And we've got the names covered up, redacted. One woman unknown. You go down to the thread. It's another thread from September 18, which is the day before. FYI from we don't know whom to we don't know whom, but they're at the FBI. Underneath, September 18, 2019. From USANYS, U.S. Attorney, New York State, maybe, I'm not sure, and to the FBI. And then the email body itself says, just wanted to give you a heads up. She's done another interview with Savannah Guthrie, the she we don't know who she is. In it, she's said the following. 1, she was interviewed by FBI in 2011 by a blank. In the interview, she gave the names of all the girls she helped to traffic. So this is presumably Ghislaine Maxwell or the other person there whose name I always forget, and I don't want to say it to get a wrong person. 2, she was also interviewed by SDNY, no time frame. 3, 2 other women also tell DOJ that Epstein specifically trafficked them to, quote, other men, end quote. Remember this, everybody, because we're being told at the same time there were no other people who could be prosecuted for partaking in the sex trafficking, that it was only for Jeffrey Epstein and his prurient interests. This is a woman interviewed by Savannah Guthrie, 2019, and this is what she allegedly said in the correspondence from the United States Department of Justice email. 2 other women also tell the DOJ that Epstein specifically trafficked them to, quote, other men, end quote. And 4, there are cameras in the New York City house and others where he could watch people in bathrooms and elsewhere. They plan to air it on today on this Friday's Dateline. Hope that's helpful. Now, this is my sleuthing, for what it's worth. And I write in a tweet, Savannah Guthrie interviewed several Epsteins back in 2019. The document from Epstein Files' latest release last Friday, 2 days before her mother's abduction. The interviews were from 2019, so it's not new information. I can't think of any contemporaneous connection, though I could imagine some deeper conspiracies. Either way, timing is very coincidental or very, very freaky. And I can think of deeper conspiracies. If I'm thinking out loud and there are no accusations in here, it's conceivable either before, during, or recently, other victims, other witnesses came forward to Savannah. Maybe she had information on additional witnesses or additional perps, and that this is somehow related, that the timing set it off. Who knows? Probably not. But these are two dots that are very, very big dots, and to ignore one or its relation to the other might be more willful blindness than connecting dots that don't connect. There was another connection in there. This was an article about, I believe, a business that Savannah Guthrie's husband has that also comes up in the Epstein documents, the most recent disclosures. It's from the Hindustan Times, which has occasionally not been unreliable, but I recall it burnt me once, so I'm always cautious with it. Savannah Guthrie, Jeffrey Epstein, a link. Husband Michael Feldman's Glover Park mentioned in files, quote, running network. And this is from February 4th. This is 2 days ago. And it refers to actual documents in the Epstein files, which is how you can sort of rely on it a little more. Today's show host Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, has been kidnapped, authorities believe, and a surprising link to Jeffrey Epstein has emerged in the files. Nancy Guthrie, mother of today's show, she was kidnapped. Okay, we got that. We don't need to do that again. The incident comes amid the Justice Department releasing files related to late convicted child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. When news of Nancy's disappearance broke, it also put the spotlight on Savannah and her personal life. As an old interview of her with Trump resurfaced, one person asked if she was the woman who had pushed for the release of the Epstein files. While this was not the case, Guthrie had interviewed Epstein accusers for NBC News. Now a document from the latest tranche has drawn another interesting connection between Guthrie and Epstein, her husband. While Guthrie on her or her actions might not be directly linked to Epstein, there is a connection by way of her husband's work. Guthrie married to Michael Feldman. There's another Michael Feldman's name in the Epstein files that I don't think it has anything to do with her, Michael Feldman. It's not the most uncommon name in the world. Michael Feldman, who helped find the Glover Park Group, found the Glover Park Group in 2001. The public affairs firm is based out of DC, and during this time, Feldman helped the likes of Bill Clinton and Al Gore. Glover Park is mentioned in the documents linked to Epstein. One file mentions a communication involving Larry Summers, where it is suggested that Epstein speak to someone at the Glover Park Group. He has helped Clinton and General Petraeus. The document continues. Notably, this is a passing mention, and it is not known if there was any further communication between Epstein and Feldman's firm. Person on X was quick to pick up on this. Samantha Guthrie's husband, Michael Feldman, founder of Glover Park Group and partner at FGS Global, is directly tied to huge global politician influence firms named in Epstein files. Bill Clinton, Al Gore, and personal relationships with Epstein. Epstein was running his network all at full throttle, they wrote on X. And so that's another potential connection. But the bottom line, and we'll see if any news has broken since we've gone live, this is where we're at right now. There's a lot of very, very bizarre circumstances around the kidnapping itself. Some curious coincidences in the video. A deadline apparently approaching on Monday, and the contemporaneous nature of this abduction to the release of the Epstein files, Savannah Guthrie's relationship to this broader Epstein files, as we call it, and her husband's potential business connections to Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Clinton, who's in there as well, heavily. Al Gore, I don't know that he is to a greater or lesser extent. And that's the latest. And we'll see where it goes. And one way or the other, you hope that this has a happy ending. And I don't know how it goes, but in the movies, they say the longer this goes, the less likely that is. And Savannah's mother apparently has a heart condition, is on medication, and has been without that medication. So the longer this goes, the bleaker it gets, but you keep your fingers crossed. As they say, prayers up and hope for the best. And that's that.